Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Today I'm going to show you how to do this painting of a sunflower. We only need 2 brushes for this. This one's a 3/8 inch angled brush, and this is a number 4 round. You can get whatever brand you like. I would get the best brand that you can afford. A better brush will give you better results. And get a synthetic blend brush. You need one that's a little bit firm, not too firm and not too soft. So kind of right in the middle. And the colors that we're using today are laid out here. We've got burnt umber, raw sienna, yellow ochre, yellow deep, yellow medium, Naples yellow. This is a sky blue for the background, but you can use whatever color you want. Orange, olive green, hooker's green, and white, titanium white. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside. I've put my colors all into an egg carton to keep them separated. Just helps while you're painting. Move that off to the side there. Move this up a little bit so it's right in the middle. Okay, and I've already painted my background. I'm just using an 8x10 canvas. You can use whatever size you want and just increase the size of your circle for the center of your sunflower, and that will increase the size of your flower. So you could do it on a really large canvas if you wanted, and just up the size of your brushes to accordingly. So I'm going to start by sketching out the center of my flower using just regular chalk like you use in the schoolroom. And I'm going to leave room around the sides of my flower for my petals, or my sunflower for my petals. That may be a little bit too big. Let me see. I might use that. Let me see. Because I want to leave room down here for a stem. That's probably a little bit better. So I'm going to circle around that with my chalk. And then to do your... you know what, that's too high. Let me move that down. The nice thing about chalk is that if you do decide to change something, as long as your background's dry, it'll wipe right off with a damp cloth. Excuse me. I'm going to dry that off, and then I'm going to move that down just a little bit. I think it was a little too high. Okay, that's better. Alright, and then to do your petals, what I had my kids in my class do to make it easy is just to make like a spoke, like find the center of your circle and then do a line straight up and down, and that will, as long as this section is this is going to be the tip of your petal, so you can make it your line as long as you want your petal to be. And then do another one this way, and then do, let me see, I think I'm going to try to fit 2 in here, so I'm going to do like that. Alright, you can use a ruler if you want to make your petals the exact size, but you know, nothing is perfect in nature, so I would just kind of wing it. And then what you're going to do is just make this curved line from here down. And if you want, you can make a little mark in between each of these to show you where to end your petals so that you have room for your other petals to go to. So this one would be the start of this petal, and it would join up with that one, and it would go to that one. That makes sense? So I'm just going to draw these all in. Like I said, they don't have to be perfect. They're just kind of curved. They kind of come, the sunflowers sort of come to a point. They do curve a little bit too. And if you want to do a double layer, you can. I didn't in my example. I just have a single layer of petals, but I mean, if you wanted to, you could put, go ahead and put other petals behind these. I'm not going to do that today. It'd be basically the same thing. But to keep it simple for my kids' class, I just left that part out. Okay, so that's that. That's our basic sunflower shape. So there's our center. And then you can also draw another center or another circle in the center of that one, and that'll be where this green part goes. So we'll leave kind of this part dark, and then we'll do like a circle of another color in the middle of our center of our flower. Actually, most of that's going to be covered up. I don't know why I just did that, but okay. And then to do our stem, let's see, I think I'm going to put my leaf over here. So I'm going to curve a stem down. I just kind of went out in between two of these petals, and then I'm going to curve from the bottom up and over like this. And then I'm going to draw like a heart shape, and I'm just going to find a little space that it'll fit. I think I want that a little bit farther over. There we go. Okay, so that's our sunflower sketch. And then we'll start putting in some color. So the first thing we're going to do is cover the whole sunflower with orange. The whole thing. And it'll turn like a burnt orange because of that blue behind it. If you want to, you could sketch it out on a white canvas and paint around it, and I just think this is easier. And some people don't like to waste paint, but I like to see the undercolors show through in my paintings. So I always try to pick my colors with that in mind, thinking, okay, what is this going to look like with another color on top of it? So I'm just using my angled brush, and I'm going to fill in all of these shapes, and I might leave a little bit of this blue peeking through here and there. This is a very, it's not super realistic, it's more impressionistic type of a painting. And so it kind of takes the pressure off, because you know it's not supposed to be perfect. You can kind of just have fun with it. And the kids did a great job. I have their projects on my blog, so I'll put the link to what they did when they did this project. And the fun thing about it is, in any art, is that every student's kind of personality comes out when they paint, and they're all going to be a little bit different. Even though I teach it exactly the same and show everybody the same thing, everybody draws it a little bit different and paints it a little bit different, and that's kind of the beauty of art. Listen to me getting all philosophical. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to fill in these petals. And I'm not worried about too much about, like, if I get thick parts like here, I've got a little thick part. That's alright, because as long as you're doing these, I'm filling them in the direction that the flower petal grows, like that the veins in the flower petal are. So from tip to center. That makes sense. And I'm going to fill in just a little bit more in some of these to make them a little bit brighter. And I'm not going to fill in the center anymore because I want it to be brown. So, and just putting the orange over the blue, which are opposite on the color wheel, complementary, it makes a neutral brown color. Okay, so I'm going to clean my brush out, and I'm going to switch over to my round, and I'm going to pick up some green here. If I just pull it up against the side of the cup, it'll load it into my brush, so I can control how much goes on my brush. And I'm going to twist it a little bit so that the paint, I hope you can see this, yeah, so that the paint goes off. And then when this is loaded all the way with the dark green, the hooker's green, and then I'm going to just drag it through that other color so that it's got a little bit of it on one side. And that's a little decorative painting trick. And then I'm not even gonna, I could kind of wipe it off to the side if I got too much on there and I was worried about it, but I think it's pretty good. So I'm gonna set it down with the light and dark both showing, and the light to one side there, and then I'm just gonna draw my stem down. Just try to do it with one long stroke. It's fine if you make a mistake and go back, but the more you mess with it, the wider your stem will get. And then I'm going to also come up here, and I'm pressing just a little bit less. It's the same brush, but I can get a smaller line if I just press a little bit less on it. Okay, then I'm going to fill in my leaf here, and I've still got both colors on there, so they're both going to kind of come off. It's pretty. So I'm going to do the center stem all the way down, do the two sides like that, and then I'm going to kind of make my ribs like a leaf would grow with the veins, I guess, kind of curving out toward the outside a little bit. And I can come back here. I might put a little bit more of this dark color in the middle to really define it a little bit more. And then maybe put some veins in there. Just using the tip of my brush and dragging it in that wet paint. It'll blend it. It'll give it kind of a blended, it's not super perfect. Okay, I'll leave that, and I might decide I probably will go back in and put some of that lighter color in there for a highlight, but I don't want to do it right now while it's wet because it'll just make it muddy. You don't want to overblend it. Okay, so I've cleaned that brush out, and let's start laying in our petals. And this was really fun. What I decided to do was do a progression from dark yellows to light yellows on the petals, and it really worked out well. So we just started with the darkest yellow, which is really a brown a raw sienna, and I'm loading my round brush, and I'm going to start at the tip and pull toward the center and just do 3 or 4 little brush strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I want to leave some of that orange showing through. I'm not covering over it, I'm just putting some of this color, layering it on top. Okay, you'll probably want to reload your brush every time you do this so you've got nice thick paint. And I'm just barely touching it down and dragging it so that by the time it gets down here, the color is sort of leaving the brush. So set it down and just drag it quickly. It's just a quick little stroke. Let me do it over here so you can see on the paper. I'll zoom in if I can figure out how to do it without knocking over my camera. There we go. Okay, so here we go. Right here. So pretend this is our petal, right? And I'll get some yellow. So I'm just doing like this. I'm pulling it down and dragging it. Do this color. Set it down and drag it. Okay, and see it's breaking up at the bottom there. You want that, I'm just kind of flicking it towards myself. So if you want to, you can turn it as you do each petal. Cover that up so it doesn't get on my canvas. So hopefully, here I'll do one up. It'll be easier to see when we switch to the lighter colors, but let me zoom out a little bit so you can see more of the center. Okay, There we go. Just set it down and just drag it. I'm not moving my hand down, I'm just sort of flicking the color down. And this is where you can kind of clean up your edges if you got a little bit messy outside the lines. You can kind of use this to hide any mistakes. Okay, so that's that color. I'm going to move to the next color. I'm really not going to clean out my brush. I'm just going to load it up with the next color, and there we go. Now you're going to be able to see it a little bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do more than 4 if you've got a color that you really like, but you want to see the streaks in it. So if you do too much of one color, then you're going to kind of mess yourself up later. You won't be able to see the undercolors. There won't be any room for other colors to go, if that makes sense. Because you're going to layer your colors kind of in between where you've already done. Alright, and like I said, I'm not being super careful. I'm just kind of letting it happen. Flicking the color on. It's really fun. It can be very stress relieving to paint. I always say that painting kept me sane especially when my kids were little. I've had a lot of moms say that they've been painting, which always makes me super happy because I loved nap time. I could get out my paints and do a little painting while my kids were sleeping, and I painted with them too, but you know, it's always fun when you can get alone and do something that you like. Okay. And then I'm going back and I'm just going to define a couple of these places where the petals end just a little bit with this color because it's kind of a medium yellow. It's yellow ochre. Okay, so I'm going to clean that out a little bit and then move to the next color, which is yellow deep. And you can use whatever yellows that you like, really, as long as they're just enough difference in value. That's fun. And these brighter colors you probably can use a little bit more sparingly, so I may just do 3 in here, because I definitely don't want to cover up all that pretty orange and ochre colors, raw umber that I did before. And once you get to the end, when you get to the white, you're really going to only put like 1 in each, 1 brush stroke in each petal. So I'm trying to follow the curve of the natural curve of the petals too, so keep that in mind. Curve these to the outside, and once you get to the middle you kind of go straight, and then when you could get to this side you kind of curve it this way. So that makes sense. Clean that out a little bit, and I'm not worried about completely cleaning it out. It's fine if it's still got some of the other color in it. Okay, and this is one of our brightest yellows here, so I'm gonna, that's pretty. I'm gonna stroke a few from the inside out this time. And just do what you like. I mean, this is kind of just, think about maybe where the light's coming from. You might decide that you want all your petals to have a highlight on one side of them or on the tops, like the sun's hitting them. Let you get creative with it. Get as fancy as you want to. And it may help to have a picture of a sunflower with you when you're doing this for inspiration. Okay, so now we're getting some really good color, and we've got some really lovely streaks going through it. And the real sunflowers do have all these really pretty thick creases in them, in their petals, that make these really interesting valleys of color, shades and lights and darks. So I had some sunflowers that grew up in my backyard last year that I took pictures of. They were under my bird feeder. They had planted themselves, and it was great. So I took some pretty pictures of them. They were beautiful. Kind of a little bonus. And my husband didn't mow them down, which was nice of him. He's good that way. He knows I like flowers, so. My flowers took over my vegetable garden. We need to replant a new one because I've got all flowers in there now. Okay. So, and like the other colors, this one is Naples Yellow, and I'm just putting a few because it's a pretty white. It's got a lot of creamy, like almost a off-white yellow. And then I've got white right here. You probably can't see it, but I've got white here, and I'm going to add it to, I'm just going to grab a little bit of it and just on the side of a cup here, mix a little tiny bit of that brightest yellow in it. I don't want it to be super, oh shoot, you can't see what I'm doing, darn it. I forgot you were zoomed in. I hope I haven't been messed up the whole time and not showing you what I'm doing. Okay, so that's there's white here, and I just kind of mixed it against the side of the cup. And then this is where you really want to be careful. You don't want to do too much. So I'm going to put a few really bright streaks in each one of these petals. Ooh. More paint. Ooh, that one was probably a little too thick, but oh well. Okay, so there's our sunflower petals. I may decide to come back later and wash over some of these white areas with some more of this bright yellow, but I'll see what it looks like when it's dry. And now I'm going to put in the burnt umber for the centers of the flower. So I'm going to load my brush with this burnt umber. Remember to hope it's going to cooperate with me. It's kind of thick. It's like it's gotten too old or something. Okay, so I've loaded I've got the angle brush for this, and you can use your round brush too, and I may switch over. I'll see how this works and switch over if I need to. You could also use like a round Deerfoot stippler if you wanted it really fine, but I kind of wanted to leave my the sunflowers has kind of large pores where the seeds grow, so I wanted to simulate that by kind of just doing some dots. So yeah, that's working fine. I'm just kind of using the tip of my brush and angling it down, and I'm just dotting and kind of making little triangle shapes, but that's all right. A little bit more paint here. Whoop. Okay, and I'm going to put a few in the center, and I'm going to leave a little ring of color here for the green to go, because we're going to put some green in that center spot. Okay, and I'm overlapping just slightly over the top of my yellow petals too, to kind of help ground them and make them look attached to the flower. Okay, so that's pretty good. I want to leave a lot of that orange showing through, and then I'm going to, I think I'm going to pick up this creamy Naples Yellow, and it's going to blend kind of in with that brown. And then I'm going to put a few dots of that in with this. very few, and I'm barely touching the tip of that angle brush in. Okay, so I've just put a few tiny little dots in with the brown. I think I'll put a couple in the center too, just a couple. Okay, then I'm gonna clean that out. And I'll load up this bright green. It was olive green, I think. And I think also we'll pick up on the other side. So I've got the green on one side. I've got the green all the way through. And then I'm just going to dip in and pull some color of this raw sienna onto one side of that. And yeah, then when I do my dots, it'll have both colors kind of on there. There's another double loading trick. Okay, and just a few of those. And I may decide I want to try to keep that in a circle. Okay, I'm going to clean that out. Pick up a little bit more of that burnt umber. And go back in and do a few more dots with the burnt umber in the center there to make sure it stays dark enough. Okay, so I'm going to let that set to dry for a minute. Actually, I'm going to switch over to my brown brush, and I'm going to come back in with that green one more time and just have a little bit on the very tip of my brush. And put just a few little brighter green dots. There we go. And I'm just setting the tip down and lifting it. I'm not really pressing down very hard at all. And then I'm just going to put a couple random ones here and there over here just to kind of unify it, because some of these might have... Okay, so that's good. Alright, and then I'm going to load up a little bit more of that, and I'm also going to grab just a tiny bit of white on the tip and blend that over here. So it's mostly green, but there's a little bit of white on the tip. And I'm going to just hold it upright, and I haven't really brought it to a point. I'm just kind of holding it upright, and I'm going to drag it along the outside edges here. That's too bright, I think. So I'm going to pick up some of that darker color. There we go. I'm going to pick up some of the lighter color again. There. And this is kind of similar to what we did over here. I'm just kind of layering, you know, we had that kind of dark green base, and then now I'm kind of layering some of the other colors over, and I'm following that same kind of leaf structure where the veins are kind of growing up and over. I'm going to put in a few. Now I haven't cleaned my brush out, so there's still some of that light green in there that'll pick up too. I'm going to do a few little veins in the darker green. It's not really showing up too good, but that's alright. It doesn't, it's just kind of a sort of the indication of something going on. This is very sort of impressionistic. Okay, let me see. I think I'm going to go ahead and do one more layer of this really bright yellow. I want my sunflower to really pop. So most of that color is dry on here. It may be thick in a couple spots, but I'm not too worried about it. And then I'm gonna go back over and cover over some of those white areas. And that white will help that yellow really become vibrant. I don't want to cover over all my white, but just a little bit of it, and see how that has already really made that whole section very vibrant. And if your petals are kind of all blending in together and you can't really see any definition in them, you can go back with one of the other colors, maybe this bright yellow here, and maybe add just a tiny bit of the red to it. Or it's actually orange. It looks kind of like a cadmium red, or a cadmium red light almost. Okay, so, and then you can kind of define some of your petals a little bit. I wouldn't do too much like that because you don't want to ruin all the kind of interesting shapes you've got going on, but if you think you need it, you can do that. It might help kind of show some separation between your petals a little bit. Or you could even use the white, the light yellow for that if you've got an area where it's really dark and you might need a little light separation. And this is where, you know, you just kind of do a few little tweaks to I think that's too bright, so I'm going to cut that color down. Okay, and then once this is all dry, you can carefully, with a damp paper towel, wipe off all of this chalk. Let's see, I think I still want a little bit. Okay. Alright, so that's it. That's our project. I'll zoom out so you can see the whole thing. Oh, I was doing my leaf without even zooming out. Darn it. Hope you could see what I was doing. Oh, I'm a mess today. Okay, so that is our finished sunflower. And like I said, if you wanted to, you could put some petals underneath or make it more fancy. However you want to do it. You could put several sunflowers together. As long as you leave a little color separating them, you can layer other flowers behind it. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this project, and please subscribe if you liked it. I'll be doing more videos soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.